Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. 3 videos in a row. You're probably like, what's going on? Well guys, I'm gonna try to be doing a video a day because I have so many video ideas right now that I just want to give them all to you. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos a day, but if you aren't, just comment down below, be like, Mark, let's go back to the video every other day, because I can do that too. Today we're doing the second episode of a new series we started called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We did it on the 350Z, and I read your comments, and somebody said they want to see the 8th gen Civic. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is the 8th gen Civic. Next time will be the G35. But yeah, today is the 8th generation Civic. Now, to be clear, what we do is we go over the car itself, like the model and all the trims and body styles and all that. Then we go into like what people do when modding it, and then we finally get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And based off of all that information, I make up an educated guess at the end as if you should buy the car or not. Anyway, let's get right into it. Alrighty, so the 8th generation Civic was produced from 2006 to 2011 and had a bunch of different engines, a bunch of different chassis codes, and a bunch of different trims. So bear with me here. I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible, and we're only going to be talking about North America. Okay, we're not going to be talking about Canada, Europe, or Japan. We're talking about North America because I'm from North America, and most of you guys are as well. Anyway, in North America, the car came in either a coupe, which went by the chassis codes FG1 or FG2, or it came in a sedan, which went by the chassis codes FA1, FA2, FA3, FA4, and FA5. But in Europe, the car also came in a hatchback. There was a 3-door hatchback and a 5-door hatchback. The 3-door hatchbacks went by the names FN1, FN2, and FN3, and FN4. And then the 5-door hatchback went by FK1, FK2, and FK3. Now that that's all out of the way, I know that's super confusing, and it's so stupid how they did that. I don't understand why they did it like that. Now let's get into the trims. The trims in order of performance are DX, DX-G, LX, LX-S, EX, and EX-L, and they all came with a 1.8 liter inline-4 that made 140 horsepower out of the gate. And keep in mind, just keep this in your mind here, every single Honda Civic ever built was front-wheel drive, so just remember that. These cars are all front-wheel drive. The only difference between these trims was very small things like a sunroof, a leather seats, air conditioning, cruise control, stuff like that doesn't really matter unless you're just using it for like a daily driver and you want those kinds of things. Next is going to be the hybrid, the Civic Hybrid, which came with a 1.3 liter inline-4 and an electric motor, which pushed the car only to 110 horsepower, so 30 less than the base models. But that was mainly meant for the city drivers who don't care about how cool or fast their car actually is. They just kind of want to get to where they need to go, and with really good gas mileage. And the hybrid Civic is amazing at gas mileage, and it does daily driving almost perfectly. Anyway, lastly for the North American market would be the SI, which came with a 2-liter inline-4 that made 197 horsepower, making it easily the fastest model available in North America. Also the most expensive model available in North America, obviously, and the most sought-after model in North America. And on top of all that, they did come out with a Type R Civic in Japan and in Europe, but we don't have that in North America, so we're not going to go over it. But the Type R Civic was amazing. It was a beast of a car. So if you can actually get one of those, that one's the one that you want to go with. Alright, now that we finally got all the trim levels and body styles and everything like that out of the way, which, like I said, there's a crap ton for this car, we're going to talk about the modability of this car. Since this is a front-wheel drive car, not a lot of people, if any, actually, pretty much nobody drifts them, obviously. So we're only going to talk about performance and looks. You can drift it if you do a whole like drivetrain swap, but that's going to be obviously incredibly hard, and you probably just want to stick with a rear-wheel drive car. Anyway, for the actual performance and looks, it's a Civic. So most of the time for show builds, they just go with a VIP style look, and they have really nice wheels and really flush fitment, and they just don't really do any crazy wide bodies or crazy spoilers or anything like that. They kind of just keep it stock body, lower it, make it look VIP and very clean. But when people go with the wide body builds for this car, they're typically doing that because they actually have to, since they have a lot of horsepower. As we all know, the Civic is one of the best cars to get power out of for cheap, and the 8th gen Civic was absolutely no exception. Everybody's comparing the 8th gen Civic to the old EKs right now because they're really freaking cheap. So most of the time when you see one of these cars modded, they're going to be going the performance route, which is pretty cool, but also kind of weird since most people call these cars racers, but it's kind of the opposite. I mean, usually when you see one of these cars modded, people are actually going performance wise and they don't really care about how cool their car looks. So I like that. And boy, is it freaking easy to get some power out of this car. Every single company in the world makes performance parts for this car. So no matter what budget you have, if you're literally making minimum wage and you're not even working 40 hours a week, you'll still be able to make it fast. These cars are just like very notorious for being able to handle a lot of freaking power in their engines and being able to buy these parts that are super duper freaking cheap. Also, these cars are very good at cornering since they are front wheel drive. So if you are gonna mod it, take it to the track one day and you're gonna freaking fall in love. But with all that stuff out of the way, it's time to get into the juicy bits, the cream of the crop, the peanut butter to the jelly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're gonna start with the good, and to clear it up, the good stuff is stuff that I think is pretty much a selling point on the car, stuff that you would be happy to have on your car. The bad is stuff that's take it or leave it. If it bothers you, you don't take it. If it doesn't bother you, go for it. It depends on the person. And the ugly is stuff that you can't deny is bad and will cause headaches, and you're gonna need to address them. But let's get into the good first. First, the car is the perfect daily driver, no matter what you go with. If you go with the SI, the hybrid, or the others, even every single one of those cars are very good at daily driving. Even the trunk space is very good. Gas mileage, it's great. Reliability is obviously through the roof since it's a Honda. The car is one of the best cars that you can get if you're just going to be daily driving. Next is it has literally every possible option for you. If you need leather seats, they're there. If you need 4 doors, buy a sedan. If you need a hybrid and you're in the city and you just need something that can get you to work and back, it's there. Every single possible option that you need besides like an SUV or a wagon is there for you, and you won't need the wagon because, like I said, it has a crap ton of freaking trunk space. Next is they are super freaking easy to modify. Parts are super cheap, they're absolutely everywhere, and on top of parts just being laying around, the community is absolutely massive, so help is everywhere. And if you ever need to get like a part off of a parts car, there's going to be someone with it. And last, for the good thing, is this is easily one of the best cars to learn how to shift a manual transmission in. As of right now, I'm trying to learn how to do it in a 350Z, and that's tough. If you are going to get this as your first car, but you're like, oh, it's got a manual transmission, and I don't know how to drive manual, that's okay. This car is very forgiving when learning how to drive a manual. And now it's time for the bad, which is once again stuff that's like take it or leave it. It's up to you. First, you're going to be called a racer. People don't understand what Civics are capable of, and unfortunately a lot of racers got their hands on Civics when Fast and Furious came out, and they gave them a very, very bad name. So people nowadays, they don't even actually like look into the car, they just go with what they hear on the internet and say, oh yeah, every Civic owner is a racer, when in reality you can definitely not be a racer and own a Civic. But if you don't care about what people like think of you, then obviously that doesn't matter. Next is the exhaust note sounds kind of bad, but once again, this is something that depends on the person. Personally, I like the higher pitched sounds in a car. Like the S2000 revving up to 9,000 is amazing. The 350Z's trumpet sound I love. Honda Civics, take it or leave it with those. If you put like a huge fart can on it, I usually don't like it, but if you actually put like a nice, Honda exhaust or something like that, it actually sounds really, really good in my opinion. So that's literally up to you, but just be careful because there are going to be people that say that it doesn't sound good. Next is apparently, even though the trunk has a lot of space, the trunk is apparently a pain in the balls to get into, since there's no like button on the back that you press. You have to either go back there with your key or you have to open it from the inside. That's something small, but it was just something that I heard about when I was watching videos on like 5 things I hate about the Civic. That's one thing that they kept saying, was that the trunk is a pain to get into. And last, for the bad, because there's not too many, it's definitely not an eye turner. All right, once again, this car is meant to be an economy car. It's not meant to look flashy and super cool. and it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't look that great. Personally, I like the looks of it, but that's just because I like Japanese cars. To an average person, if you're thinking about buying this car to win over your crush, it's not going to do the trick. They don't look that awesome. But once again, if you genuinely just enjoy cars and you just like the Civic Si and you just want to buy one, this shouldn't matter to you. Now it's time for the ugly, which are things that are just bad about the car that you can't argue about. Guys, if you own an 8th generation Civic and any of these things I was either wrong about or you want to add something to it, please comment down below. I literally only got all my information off of Google and YouTube videos of people talking about like things that they love and hate about it. So I have never owned one before, so don't come at me like I know what I'm talking about. First, it's the speed. It's a very slow car. Even the SI isn't that quick for the price. 197 horsepower is not that much. I do understand that it's super easy to modify and get to higher speeds, but some people don't have the extra money to put into it. So if that's you and you're really balling on a budget, and you want like a fast car, just be careful because it won't have that speed that you want out of the gate. Next is it's got cheap interior and extremely oddly weird paint. These Civics are incredibly good at having faded paint after only like 100,000 miles. But obviously if you take good care of it, that's preventable. But most of the time, if you're buying a Civic like this, it's going to be already over 100,000 and it'll already have that. So you're gonna have to deal with it yourself. But compared to the other cars like of the 2000s, the paint is like very, very bad. For the interior, you get what you pay for. I mean, cheap plastics. It's a 2000s car. I mean, actually no, it's like a 2010s car, but still, it's a Civic. You gotta understand it's going to have cheap plastics. But the actual paint part of it is kind of weird, and it kind of does suck. But what you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, next is third gear and second gear apparently has a lot of synchro issues, meaning that it grinds a lot in third, it has troubles getting into third, and sometimes it'll even pop out of gear in third gear, which is all obviously a pretty big issue. That was apparently only for the early models. They, I guess, fixed that in the later models, and it doesn't have those synchro issues. But if you're buying an earlier model, just be careful about that. You can bring it to a Honda dealership, and I was pretty sure that they fix it like for pretty damn cheap, which is good since it is their fault. And lastly is another thing like that, the master clutch cylinder needs to be replaced or fixed in earlier models. People were talking about how the master clutch cylinder was going after only like driving the car for 20,000 miles off the lot. So it was like a brand new car and 20,000 miles, they needed to replace the master clutch cylinder. Once again, Honda knew this was an issue and replaced it in the 2010 models, but in 2008 and 2009, those models you're gonna need to fix it. Honestly, probably if you're buying a Civic Si and it's already got like 100,000 miles, the owner before you might have already replaced the master clutch cylinder, but just don't, just be careful about that. Once again, not the biggest issue, but it is an issue that you need to address right away. Alright, so to recap the ending of this video, I think if you're going to buy your first ever car and you want something that you can have a good time with and it's still a little bit of fun but still a great daily driver, this is a great choice for you. First, it's front wheel drive, so you don't have to worry about spitting out or anything. You don't have to worry about the winter. You're golden for that. Second, it's got the perfect amount of power for a beginner. It's just 197, right under 200 is perfect. It's not too slow, but it's not too fast. And it's reliable while having great gas mileage, so it's still an extremely good daily driver. Now, with that out of the way, I think if you're going from a car already and you already had a car, and this is going to be your second car, whether your first car was a, stock Honda Civic and now you're going to go into like a next car, I think if you're going from that and this is going to be your second car, unless you plan on modifying it and making it into a little missile, I wouldn't go with this choice. I know you guys are going to hate me for saying that, but I think if you already have experience with a fast car, or even just a car in general, you're going to expect it to be like a super fast sports car because you're like, oh, it's the SI, yeah, it's super fast, and it's going to be a little underwhelming to you. Either way, it's still a reliable, fun little daily driver. And if you're trying to make it into like a missile thing and you don't care like about the stock speed, then yeah, you go with a Civic Si because you can make a lot of power out of it. But like I said, if this is going to be your second car and you're kind of going to keep it stock for a little while and it's just like a project car, just probably not the best choice. Alrighty, that is the end of this video, guys. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment down below some other cars that you want to see, because next video is going to be the Infiniti G35. A lot of you guys commented G35, and so we're gonna do it. But this video was the 8th Gen Civic because I saw somebody that said he wanted to see the 8th Gen Civic, and I was like, cool, I don't want to do a 350Z and a G35 right back to back. That's just going to get kind of, you know, stale because it's the same car pretty much. And so next we're going to do the G35. Let me know other cars you want to see. Let me know other top 10 lists you want to see. And I hope you guys are enjoying the 350Z content because I got another video coming out tomorrow of the 350Z of me learning how to drive it. And then in a couple other days, I'll have another video of it. So I'm making a lot of videos on that car. I hope you guys are enjoying that content as well. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, give me a kiss. Wait, what? Did you hear that? Did you guys hear that? That was weird. I don't know who said that. Das Vidania and have a nice night.